Here we go again. Buckle in, it's going to get bumpy. Eskom announcing stage 3 power cuts for today with stage 2 from tomorrow. South Africans shocked yesterday when we were ramped up to stage 4. So what kind of impacts are the continued blackouts having on the economy and, of course, the people of South Africa? And why has Cape Town seemingly been able to mitigate the power cuts? Ronald Masinda, what can you tell us about that part of the country that seems to somehow keep their lights on?
Yes, a very good morning to you, Gareth, from Cape Town. Well, according to the City of Cape Town, a pump storage plant is able to provide additional capacity during load shedding or power cuts, which in turn provides more relief to its customers. We also heard from the City of Cape Town also saying, Gareth, that the city is the only one in South Africa that provides this sort of relief. But for more analysis and more, we are joined by the city's Energy and Climate Change Executive Director, Mr. Kadri Nasib. Mr. Nasib, thank you so much for your time. First of all, just in layman's terms, how does the system work?
So effectively, we're using Steenbras power, the pump storage plant, as a large battery. So normally we use it for reducing peak demand within the city. But currently during load shedding, we're using one of the units to effectively mitigate one of the stages of load shedding. But of course, that can only be used during certain parts of the day because it also requires us to charge the battery at the end of the day. So this is why we're only able to use it effectively during certain parts of the day.
Right. When did this system come into effect, and globally, is it a common system that is used?
No, it's not a common system. Many cities don't have the benefits of pump storage. We're one of the few cities in the world that has a pump storage plant. In fact, Eskom has its own pump storage plants, and we're one of the few. Many other cities do encounter load shedding, but they use diesel generators to assist during those periods of the day.
Of course, the onus is always on residents to also use electricity sparingly, especially during winter and during load shedding. Could this system be compromised if people do not use electricity sparingly?
Well, certainly at a national level, yes. What we find is that Eskom has a shortage of units that are available as a result of increased unplanned and planned maintenance. So if your national perspective is looked at, you'll find that as demand grows, more pressure then is exerted on Eskom and the shortfall in capacity is enhanced. So yes, there's definitely a responsibility nationally, and Cape Townians can also play their part in helping to reduce demand.
Is there a way that perhaps South Africans or people within your space could help eradicate the issue of power cuts and load shedding, and talk us through perhaps the buying power?
Well, certainly, look, we can at the residential level, we can look first of all at using energy more sparingly, switching off geysers when it's not in use, switching to alternative, better lighting, for example, LED lighting. At the same time, also looking at the way in which we work. More and more people are working from home, so it places more demand in terms of residential consumption. So we need to monitor that very carefully. But looking ahead, certainly many people are now looking at solar home systems as a way of actually mitigating against the impact of load shedding. And the city has introduced its own small-scale embedded generation program that is being used quite effectively to allow consumers to firstly secure their own power through the supply coming from solar, and also to feed in the excess capacity back into the network.
Right. We do know that load shedding is quite common across the African continent. Talk us through how does one, talk us through how load shedding even started here in South Africa. What has exacerbated the issue?
Well, it started in about 2007, in fact, but that was a different issue. It was more due to the demand, where, for example, Eskom at that stage had not built new capacity at that point in time. So it ended up with a situation where we experienced the first bouts of load shedding in 2007. But as I said, that was more about being demand-driven and helping to reduce that. Currently, where we are now, it's a slightly different situation in that we have many of Eskom's plants are older, some of them are ready for decommissioning, and they have big issues with respect to how they're going to maintain and make those plants available. So that's where the big challenge is coming in now, is the investment and the time it's required to rebuild those assets.
Mr. Nasib, thank you very much indeed for your time. That was the Executive Director for Energy and Climate Change here at the City of Cape Town. We'll, of course, be getting more analysis just after 9 o'clock from the Western Cape government.
Ronald Masinda for the moment, thank you very much. Very clever idea, doing whatever it takes to try and at least reduce the consumption on the national grid. And it seems that part of the country in Cape Town has found something of an innovative way of doing it.